The sun was sinking low, painting the harbor in shades of gold and orange. A sleek, ivory-hued yacht bobbed gently in the water, its decks alive with the hum of music, clinking glasses, and the chatter of the elite. A red carpet stretched from the parking lot to the yacht's entrance, flanked by silver stanchions and velvet ropes. Photographers lingered nearby, lenses poised for a money shot. Everything about the night screamed wealth, unapologetic, in-your-face luxury. Malik Carter, 28, stood at the edge of the carpet, clutching an embossed invitation. NeonEdge Summer Gala, Private Yacht Reception, VIP. Guest, Malik Carter. He smoothed the lapel of his tailored charcoal blazer, paired with a crisp white shirt and slim-fit trousers. His sneakers, high-end limited edition kicks, were a quiet flex, a nod to his style. At 6'2", with a fresh fade and a silver chain glinting at his neck, he looked the part. Still, he hesitated. This wasn't his usual scene. Earlier that evening, his older sister, Aisha Carter, 38, CEO of NeonEdge, had pulled him aside outside their matte black SUV. Her phone buzzed relentlessly as she spoke. "I've got to wrap up a call with the Tokyo investors before they jet off," she'd said, her tone sharp but warm. "Head on to the yacht. Your name's on the list. Just flash the invite." She'd grinned, adjusting his collar. "I'll catch up. Stay near the entrance, all right?" Malik had nodded, buoyed by her confidence. Aisha wasn't just his sister. She was a tech titan, a force of nature. Now, though, standing solo under the twilight sky, he felt the weight of eyes, quick, cutting glances from the other guests. They sized him up, searching for a hint of pedigree or power, and apparently came up short. He squared his shoulders and stepped forward. At the entrance, a guy in a black vest blocked his path. The name tag read Dylan, Guest Services. Mid-30s, with a smirk that said he'd seen it all, Dylan's vibe was equal parts gatekeeper and petty king. His eyes flicked over Malik, face, outfit, invite, before settling into a skeptical squint. "You lost, man?" he asked, his tone smooth but edged with doubt. Malik held out the card. "I'm on the list. Malik Carter. My sister's Aisha Carter, CEO of NeonEdge." Dylan barely glanced at the invite. "CEO's brother, huh?" He crossed his arms, leaning in like he was about to crack a joke. "Where's she at, then?" "Finishing a call by the marina," Malik said, keeping his voice steady. "She told me to go ahead. She'll be here soon." Dylan snorted, handing the card back. "Sure she will. Look, this ain't a +1 kind of gig. Step aside. Let's not make a scene." Malik's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, a shadow fell over them. Aisha strode up, heels clicking on the pier, her navy power suit cutting through the crowd like a blade. "Problem here?" Her voice was ice. Her gaze locked on Dylan. Dylan paled. No, ma'am. Just checking." "Checking what?" she snapped. "That's my brother, and you just picked the wrong guy to mess with." The air shifted. Heads turned. Dylan stammered an apology, but Aisha was already steering Malik aboard. "Let's go," she muttered. "They'll learn." Invitation and examined it, then turned slightly toward the tablet resting on the podium. His fingers moved, 0401, slowly across the screen, but his eyes didn't leave Zion for long. What'd she look like? Xylon blinked. "Excuse me, your mother." "Celeste." "Read." Describe her. Zion frowned. She's tall. Wears a white dress tonight. Curly hair. You can Google her. She's in Forbes. Greg chuckled softly, but it didn't sound amused. Sure, kid. I get your type. My type. Greg leaned in a little, lowering his voice. You kids hear about these fancy events, sneak in with something you printed at home, hoping for some free food or pictures for the gram. His smile was tight. It's cute, but 0441, it's not happening tonight. Zion stiffened. This isn't fake. My name is on the list. Not from where I'm standing. The warm lights of the yacht glinted off the water, but Zion no longer noticed the beauty around him. His fingers clenched the hem of his blazer. He didn't understand why the man wouldn't believe him. His voice was steady. He had the invitation. He looked presentable. What more was he supposed to do? He glanced around, wondering if someone from the staff might recognize him, but no one met his gaze directly. One woman, 0514, behind the velvet rope looked down at her phone. Another couple whispering nearby smirked when Greg raised an eyebrow and muttered, Persistent little guy, huh? Zion's throat tightened, but he said calmly, You can check again, please. Greg gave a long, exaggerated sigh, then tapped the screen a few more times. He shook his head. Nope. Not seeing it. That's not possible. Zion insisted, taking a small step forward. Greg held out a hand. Back up. Don't make this a thing. Zion froze. His heart thumped harder, not from fear, but from something. 0552, colder. Something sharper. This wasn't about a list. This wasn't even about a policy. This was about him, and it had been from the start. And so he stood there alone at the edge of privilege, a boy with a name they refused to see, holding proof they refused to believe. Greg's jaw tightened as Zion stepped half an inch closer. That was all it took. With a flick of the wrist, Greg signaled to someone behind the crowd. Security, he said flatly, never taking his eyes off Zion. We've got a situation. 0628. Zion's heart skipped. A situation like he was a threat, a trespasser, not the guest he'd been invited to be. He didn't move. He didn't run. But a low, growing hum began to rise in his ears, something primal and old, the sound of history repeating itself through clenched teeth and sidelong glances. A man in a Navy uniform approached swiftly from the edge of the deck, earpiece coiled like a snake along his neck, black gloves tucked into his belt. His name tag read, but Zion already knew what role he would play. Brad was big, square-shouldered, the kind of man who, 0707, didn't ask questions. He simply removed obstacles. His expression blank, but alert, flicked briefly to Zion and then to Greg, waiting for instruction. This kid's trying to sneak on. Greg, said voice loud enough for those nearby to hear. Claims he's the CEO's son, but he won't leave. Zenod opened his mouth, but the words caught. He could feel the judgment in the air, thick as the ocean mist. Faces turned toward him one by one, like flowers, turning to catch a different kind of sun, one that burned. The couple from earlier took a half step back. The woman with the 0743 phone recorded a short clip before pretending to scroll. Not a single person spoke up. I have an invitation, Zion said again, louder this time, forcing clarity into each syllable. It's not fake. My name is Zion Reed. My mother is Celeste Reed. Brad raised a hand, palm open. We just need you to step aside, son. I didn't do anything wrong, Zion said, but he could hear his own voice tighten. He wasn't sure if it was fear anymore or fury. My name is on the list. Brad moved closer, not aggressive yet, but the intent was there. Zion took a single step back. Dylan handed the invitation back to Malik with a lazy flick of his wrist, then turned to the tablet on his podium. His fingers tapped the screen slowly, but his eyes stayed glued to Malik, sizing him up. What's she look like? Dylan asked, his tone dripping with skepticism. Malik blinked. Excuse me? Your sister, Aisha Carter. Describe her. Malik's brow furrowed. She's tall, got a short bob, wearing a navy suit tonight. You can look her up. NeonEdge CEO, Forbes 30 under 40. Dylan let out a dry chuckle, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. Sure, man, I know your type. He leaned in, voice dropping. You kids hear about these swanky gigs? Whip up a fake invite on your laptop, thinking you'll snag some free drinks or a selfie for the gram. Cute, but not tonight. Malik's grip tightened on his blazer's hem. It's not fake. My name's on the list. Not from where I'm standing, Dylan shot back, smirking. The yacht's warm lights danced on the water, but Malik barely noticed. He'd done everything right, dressed sharp, held the invite, kept his cool. What else did this guy want? He scanned the crowd, hoping someone might vouch for him, but the other guests avoided his gaze. A woman in a sequined dress scrolled her phone, pretending not to watch. A couple nearby whispered, smirking as Dylan muttered, Persistent, huh? Malik's chest tightened, but he kept his voice even. Check again, please. Dylan sighed, loud and dramatic, tapping the screen like it pained him. Nope, nothing. Sorry, bro. That's impossible, Malik said, stepping forward. Dylan's hand shot up. Back off. Don't make this a thing. Malik froze, pulse pounding. This wasn't about the list anymore. It was about him, the way Dylan looked at him, the way the crowd watched. He wasn't a guest. He was an intruder. Dylan's jaw clenched as Malik held his ground, and with a quick gesture, he signaled behind him. Security, he said, voice flat, eyes locked on Malik. Got a situation. A broad-shouldered man in a navy uniform stepped forward, earpiece dangling, gloves tucked into his belt. His name tag read Travis. He didn't ask questions, just loomed, waiting for Dylan's cue. This guy's trying to sneak in, Dylan announced, loud enough for the gawkers. Says he's the CEO's brother, but won't leave. Malik opened his mouth, but the words snagged. The air felt heavy, thick with stares, judgmental, curious, cold. The couple edged back. The woman with the phone angled it for a quick video, then fake scrolled. No one said a word in his defense. I've got an invite, Malik said, louder now, each word deliberate. It's real. Malik Carter. Aisha Carter's my sister. Travis raised a hand. Step aside, man. Let's keep this easy. I didn't do anything wrong, Malik snapped, voice sharp with frustration. Not fear, not anymore. Travis moved closer, not hostile yet, but ready. Then the crowd parted. Aisha stormed up, her navy suit crisp, heels striking the pier like gunfire. "What's going on?" Her voice cut through the noise, eyes blazing at Dylan. "Ma'am, Dylan stammered. "You're harassing my brother," she said, stepping between Malik and Travis. "He's on the list, I'm the host, and you're done here." Dylan shrank. The crowd hushed. Aisha grabbed Malik's arm. "Come on, they'll regret this." The velvet rope grazed Malik's side as he stood firm, the crumpled invite shaking slightly in his grip. "I'm not lying," he said, voice low but resolute. "Didn't say you were." Travis replied, his tone neutral but hollow. He didn't believe Malik, not really. Neither did Dylan. Believing him meant rewriting their script about who got to step onto a yacht like this. Dylan scoffed, folding his arms. "He's refusing to cooperate now." Malik's jaw clenched, not at the words but at what they'd twist into, refusing to cooperate. That phrase carried weight, ugly, historical weight, the kind that turned situations into something worse, something permanent. "I'm asking you politely to step back," Travis said, edging closer. "And I'm asking you to check the list again." Malik shot back, voice trembling but solid. "You didn't do it right?" Dylan smirked, that same cocky grin. "You really want to drag this out, huh?" "I just want to be treated fair," Malik said, hands balling into fists. Dylan glanced at Travis, chuckling. "Listen to this guy, giving us a little justice speech. What's next? You gonna say you own the place?" "Enough," Travis warned, reaching for Malik's shoulder. But before his hand landed, a voice cut through the air like a whip. "Get your hand off my brother." Everything stopped. Dylan's smirk evaporated. Travis froze, mid-motion. The crowd swiveled as Aisha Carter strode up, her navy suit sharp as a blade, heels snapping against the pier. Her expression was steel, eyes locked on Travis. "Did you not hear me?" she said, slower now. "Get your hand off my brother." Travis jerked back like he'd been burned. Malik let out a breath he didn't know he'd held. Aisha closed the gap, her gaze flicking to Dylan. "Ma'am, there's a misunderstanding," Dylan stammered. "This guy said—" "My brother," Aisha cut in, each word a dagger. "Who I told to wait for me on this yacht. Who has an invite. Whose name is on the VIP list you either skipped or were too lazy or too prejudiced to check." Dylan blinked, speechless. Too prejudiced hung heavy, a storm cloud ready to burst. Aisha turned to Malik, her face softening for a split second. "You good?" He nodded, swallowing hard. She wheeled back to Dylan. "What did you accuse him of?" Dylan fumbled. I thought he was, just what?" Aisha pressed, stepping closer. "Just black? Just young? Just not your picture of who belongs here?" Her voice stayed level, but the air crackled. "You didn't just embarrass my brother tonight, Mr. Guest Services. You stood there, in front of this crowd, and reminded him that people like you will look at a sharp-dressed black man with proof in his hand and still call him a fraud, a problem, a nobody." Silence fell, thick and heavy. The waves lapped at the dock. The yacht's music droned on, oblivious. Then, a camera clicked. A phone screen glowed. Whispers rippled. "Is that Aisha Carter?" The spotlight swung. Curiosity spread like wildfire, faces craning for a better view. Dylan shrank, his black vest suddenly too tight, his authority crumbling. Aisha grabbed Malik's arm. "Let's go. They'll figure out who they messed with." Aisha's presence was a force, unyielding and electric. Her eyes pinned Dylan where he stood, cutting through him like a laser. Travis, the security guard, shifted awkwardly, glancing between Aisha and the growing crowd of onlookers. "Miss Carter," he started, voice cautious. "I didn't know." "You didn't ask," Aisha interrupted, her tone cool but loaded. "You saw a young black man standing alone, holding a legit invite with confidence, and instead of checking it, you assumed he didn't belong." She turned to Dylan. "And you humiliated my brother in public. You accused him, called security, let him stand here surrounded, labeled, and almost shoved out in front of everyone, all while you played bouncer at a party he was invited to before you even got the gig." Dylan's mouth opened, but no words came. The smooth lines he'd tossed at pushy guests 100 times before dried up. Not here. Not with her. Aisha took a steady breath. "Malik, show them your invite again." Malik, still rattled but bolstered by his sister's fire, held out the crumpled card. His hand was steady now. Aisha snatched it and thrust it toward Dylan's tablet. "Check it. Now." Dylan's fingers fumbled over the screen. It lagged, reloaded, then finally pulled up the list, rows of names under VIP confirmed. There it was. Malik Carter, guest of honor, brother of CEO. Highlighted, flagged, undeniable. The silence that followed was deafening, a verdict all its own. Dylan stepped back, his lips parting in a half-formed apology, but Aisha raised a hand, silencing him without a sound. Phone cameras flickered behind them, capturing every second. Guests who'd ignored Malik earlier now leaned in, recording. A guy in a tailored blazer muttered into his earpiece, relaying the drama. 2 women nearby, one shaking her head, the other texting furiously, watched wide-eyed. Beyond the velvet rope, a reporter from KXLA stood poised, her long lens trained on the scene, her cameraman rolling. Aisha caught their gaze, gave a subtle nod, her green light. Travis cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, ma'am. If I'd known—" "You didn't need to know," Aisha snapped. "You needed to treat a person with basic respect. That's not a strategy call. That's a failure of character." Travis dipped his head, stepping back, chastened. Dylan, pale now, tried again. "Please, Ms. Carter, I didn't mean—" "You did," Aisha said, her voice dropping to a lethal quiet. "That's the issue. Every smirk, every assumption, the fake concern you wrapped around your attitude, you meant it. You thought no one'd call you out." She stepped closer. Dylan flinched. "You didn't see my brother. You saw a problem, and you acted like it." Dylan's eyes flicked to Malik, but Malik wasn't looking back. He stood tall, soaking in Aisha's strength, her precision, how she wielded truth like a spotlight. Aisha tapped the tablet twice, snapped a photo of Malik's name, then turned to the staff nearby, her tone shifting to crisp authority. "This guy's done. Get him off the dock. HR'll send formal notice by midnight." Aisha turned to Dylan one last time. "Your choices have consequences, starting now." Dylan looked like he wanted to melt into the pier. Instead, he was escorted off, cameras flashing, whispers trailing him, and eyes, silent but piercing, tracking his exit. Aisha glanced down at Malik, her voice softening. Come on, let's head in. Malik nodded, and as they stepped onto the red carpet together, a camera popped again. This time, it wasn't about Dylan's fall. It was about something rising. A man seen, believed, and backed by a sister who wouldn't let injustice slide. The yacht's interior shimmered with sleek luxury, ambient lights, champagne flutes clinking, and jazz floating from a live band on the upper deck. Tech moguls and investors mingled under crystal sconces, the ocean stretching endlessly beyond panoramic windows. But the vibe had shifted, a subtle undercurrent buzzing through the crowd. Whispers followed Aisha Carter as she stepped aboard with Malik beside her, not idle gossip, but the heavier hum of realization, the kind that hits when truth slices through pretense. People turned, some uneasy, some awestruck, a few with belated respect. Aisha moved with purpose, her arm resting lightly on Malik's shoulder, not steering, just grounding him, a reminder he belonged more than most. She caught her assistant's eye near the bar and gave a curt nod. Instantly, her team sprang into action. Texts fired off, an internal review launched. By night's end, event logistics staff would face interviews, incident logs would be pulled, and security footage archived. She wasn't playing. As they neared the main salon where top investors schmoozed, a silver microphone stand rolled out to the open-air deck. The MC's voice cut through the hum. "Ladies and gentlemen, a moment please. Our host has requested a word." A hush fell, tension crackling. Aisha didn't climb a platform or gesture grandly. She simply stepped forward, her navy suit catching the breeze like a banner, and stood under the starlit sky. "Good evening," she began, voice clear and unwavering. "Thanks for joining us as NeonEdge celebrates another year of innovation, growth, and equity." She let that last word linger. We toss equity around a lot, on slides, in reports, across our branding. But tonight, I got a reminder. Words don't make equity. Actions do. The crowd went dead quiet. "You know me as NeonEdge's CEO," she continued. "The product launches, the deals, the stock ticker, you know the stats. But some of you didn't know I've got a 28-year-old brother, Malik. I kept him out of the spotlight, thinking privacy would shield him." Her gaze flicked to the deck's edge, where reporters had slipped in, one filming. She didn't flinch. Tonight, Malik showed up as a guest of honor. His name was on the list, invite in hand, presence expected. Yet he was stopped, questioned, accused. Not for anything he did, but because someone saw a stereotype instead of a person. The air tightened, the breeze itself holding its breath. He was told he didn't belong, that he was suspect, that he needed to go. And that's where we're at, still proving we're human. She paused, then smiled faintly at Malik. "We're changing that, starting now." Aisha's voice sharpened. "He was told he'd be removed if he didn't comply." A few gasps punctured the crowd. A guy near the bar muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. A woman in a silver dress froze, her champagne untouched. Aisha scanned the group. This wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice, made live, rooted in bias. And that's not okay. Not on my yacht, at my event, in my company. Her words hit like bricks, solid and unyielding. "But I'm not here to point fingers," she said after a pause. "I'm here to light it up, because Malik isn't the first, and he won't be the last. Every day, In offices, airports, classrooms, boardrooms, people get judged like this, pegged as out of place, because they don't match someone's idea of power, safety, or worth. We've made suspicion our default, and tonight it almost turned my brother into a news blip. Malik stood off to the side, watching her, eyes steady. Aisha's voice held firm, pulsing with something raw. NeonEdge won't play at equity for show. We won't prioritize optics over guts, and we damn sure won't let gatekeeping that humiliates, threatens, or dismisses anyone based on race, age, or looks slide. Slow claps started, hesitant at first, but she didn't wait for it. We've fired the employee responsible. We're auditing every third-party contractor tied to this event, and by next quarter, we'll roll out new access and anti-bias rules. This isn't just about my brother. It's about every family banking on success to shield their own from this exact crap. The applause swelled, not polite, but real. Aisha turned to Malik, held out her hand, and he stepped forward, the crowd's gaze heavy on his tall, proud frame. She leaned into the mic. This is Malik. He didn't come here to make waves. He came because he was invited. But tonight proved his presence alone is a statement. Don't forget it. The crowd ignited, not wild, but alive with the sound of truth landing hard. Cheers mixed with applause, glasses raised in solidarity, not just to toast. The reporters didn't snag a scandal. They caught a shift. As Aisha and Malik turned from the mic, hand in hand, the sea glittered behind them. The yacht wasn't a bubble of privilege anymore. It was where a line got drawn, and everyone had to pick a side. The video hit online before the last glass was cleared, raw, unfiltered. A black man stopped, grilled, doubted. A sister storming in with fire in her veins. A CEO picking truth over polish. It blew up. News feeds, ex-posts, tech blogs, parenting groups, equity chats. The caption that stuck? She didn't raise her voice. She raised the bar. Malik's name trended beside Aisha's. Malik Carter. Let him belong. Belonging's not a perk. By morning, it was in 6 languages. By noon, talk shows picked it apart. By night, headlines screamed, CEO Aisha Carter calls out yacht staff for racial profiling, turns it into policy overhaul. The ripple wasn't just digital. NeonEdge's HR got swamped. Over 1,000 emails from staff, contractors, even anonymous tipsters, spilling stories of quiet slights echoing Malik's night. A pattern surfaced. The subtle snubs, the polite rejections. Aisha didn't just spark a moment. She lit a fuse. The pattern wasn't just one guy. It was the system. The silent stares, the polite snubs, the extra glances at the wrong people while the right ones sailed through. Aisha didn't blink. She called an emergency board meeting that night, virtual but razor sharp. Half the directors urged her to wait, to soften the wording. Let the news cycle die down, one said. Don't feed it. She shut him down with a stare. It's been burning for years. They lit the match. I'm just naming the fire. By afternoon, a memo dropped. Zero tolerance for racial profiling, not just at NeonEdge HQ, but across all events, partners, caterers, PR, security, everyone. No PR fluff, an operational gut punch. They rolled out mandatory bias training, deep and quarterly, with teeth. Metrics tied to contracts. Dylan's name stayed out of the press. It didn't need to be. Within a day, his file was with legal his agency canned. He dodged reporters, but a clip caught him leaving their office, tie stuffed in his pocket, a manila envelope clutched tight. Malik skipped work for 2 days, not out of fear. He wasn't scared, but because the noise was deafening. Aisha's office drowned in messages, gifts, notes, books, even teas with his face. A nonprofit offered to fund his grad school. His image was a symbol now, unasked for but his. He sat on their couch, legs tucked up, replaying the clip, not Dylan's grilling, but Aisha's line. "You didn't see my brother. You saw a problem." "Too much?" Aisha asked from the doorway, voice soft. Malik didn't look up. "No, just right." She sat beside him, the quiet settling in, familiar. "I wasn't scared," he said finally. "I know," she replied. "But I was pissed, not just at him, at everyone who watched and stayed mute." Her hand found his. "Some didn't know better. Some didn't want to." He nodded. "Then what's all this for? Speeches, rules, cameras?" She squeezed his hand. "So next time someone speaks up faster, so the next Malik doesn't have to prove he's allowed to exist." A week later, NeonEdge hosted a live press conference. No script, no PR filter, just raw and streamed everywhere. Aisha stood with execs, lawyers, but also janitors, interns, engineers, and Malik front and center in a charcoal blazer like that night. "I'm not just a CEO," she told the world. "I'm a sister, a daughter, a black woman in a field that still weighs worth by who's seen. This company won't echo the world's screw-ups. It'll show what's possible." The room roared, some claps wary, some real, all loud enough to stick. Across the country, a 28-year-old coder watched from his co-working space. Dark skin, quiet vibe. For once, he didn't duck when a colleague asked his goals. "Malik," he muttered. "That's who I want to be." The video kept spreading. Raw stories, real lessons. Hit like, subscribe, ring the bell if you're in for more. Lesson? Stand up, even when it's just you. Small moves can shift the game. Life's full of moments where things go sideways. Unfair calls at work, school, or out in the world. Malik and Aisha's story shows us that staying quiet isn't neutral. It's letting the wrong stuff slide. You don't need to be the loudest or the boss to make a dent. Sometimes, all it takes is speaking up when it counts, asking the right question, or just not walking away. Next time you see someone getting a raw deal, do something small. Say, "Hold up, why?" Stand with them or flag it to someone who can fix it. Your move might be the spark that flips the script, like Aisha did for Malik. Start small, but start. This lesson pushes for guts and action in a down-to-earth way, workable for anyone. What do you think? Want me to tweak it?